This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
Well, thanks for being with us today on the Extra Point podcast here at Arizona's Family. If you've listened to this show over the past couple years, you know how much I love to talk about the high school football explosion in the great state of Arizona, with players playing at colleges all over the country, in the pros, and two more could soon join them. Spencer Rattler from Pinnacle High School, who played at Oklahoma and South Carolina, and Jack Plummer, who played at Gilbert High School and went on to play at Purdue, Cal, and Louisville. Well, they've been training with renowned quarterback coach Mike Giovando, and he joins us on today's show to talk about the state of quarterbacking in Arizona, in the country, preview the draft, talk about both of his quarterback strengths, and also Mike is a musician, and he's set to play this Saturday night in Mesa, teaming up with former Cardinal quarterback Max Hall, his Victory Recovery Foundation. It's called A Night to Prevail. There was a lot to discuss about quarterback play and life in the road to recovery.
It's great to talk to you. Is this kind of like your regular season? As you know, you got a couple guys getting ready to move on here and guys trying to move up. Does the work ever stop for you?
Not really. No. Not every year do I have guys that are getting ready to, go into the NFL, and go through that process. So I don't always do combine and pro day and draft prep, every year. But this is a big year, obviously, because of Spencer Rattler and Jack Plummer having that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think about just the state of Arizona football. I think if you would have told me 15 years ago we would have this many quarterbacks who have had this much success out of the state of Arizona, I would have been surprised. What do you think has been the biggest reason for the quarterback explosion? We're almost a quarterback state now in Arizona.
Yeah. I just think the ability to kind of train year round, and, having some guys that kind of put Arizona on the map in the last, like you said, 15 years. My first guy to really do real well was Sean Remfrey. Played at Notre Dame Prep, played at Duke, and played with the Falcons for like 5 years. And so he was my first guy I ever had from Little League to that kind of process. But, he was the first big one. And then it started to just kind of continue to kind of take off. I mean, you had, for me, we had Brian Lewerke, ended up at Michigan State, doing real well there. But then I kind of feel like Spencer Rattler came on the scene, and that really got things kind of just more eyes open. Obviously there's guys out there that I haven't trained that other guys trained that are doing great things, and obviously have really helped bring attention to the state, as well. So I just think, it just got more and more eyeballs over here, and more connections with coaches from around the country that found out, hey, this is a good place to come and stop and see if there's a good quarterback out here.
Man, it's made Friday night super enjoyable. And, you talk about Spencer Rattler and training him. You look at the arm talent, and we've seen that since he was a sophomore in high school, and said this kid is special. How would you kind of, describe his arm talent after going through the workouts with you as he gets ready to try to make a run at the NFL?
He's an elite thrower. I mean, bar none. I mean, he can throw it with the best of them. He's special, like really, really, really elite arm talent. And I think that's pretty much known out there, but he'll be able to obviously show that off a lot more here. And Senior Bowl coming up, Reese's Senior Bowl week after next. And then, Combine, and then his pro day. I think people will really get to see it in person and be like, wow, it's pretty special. But yeah, he's an elite thrower. And he's a lot smarter than I think people are at least don't know yet, because he's played in 3 different systems, and the last 2 systems he's played in have been very NFL based, with language and verbiage and concepts and protections and all that stuff. So he's ahead of the curve right now as a quarterback coming out into the draft. So is Jack Plummer. Very smart guy, played in 3 different offenses as well. Pro style stuff. They've been under the center. They've had to change things at the line of scrimmage and fix things, get out of bad plays and all that stuff. So definitely an advantage for them going into this process.
Are these two guys that you could see playing in the NFL for a considerable amount of years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. They're going to be around. I think both of them have an opportunity to be, like you said, playing in the NFL. I believe they both can start. I mean, right off the bat, you know how hard that is. Sometimes you get that opportunity, sometimes you don't. But just the way it works, I mean, they'll be playing for a while. We'll be watching them for sure.
What is the process like? When do you usually start coaching a quarterback? About what grade, what age, and what's the progression look like? Say Spencer Rattler at the beginning of high school to now at the end of college.
Well, what's funny is like probably 15 years ago, I primarily dealt with probably like 7th grade, kind of was when I would get kids to start, working out. Now I have kids 5 and 6 years old. It's nuts. And we have a couple kids, really, young kids that are really talented, young guys. So it's just kind of funny how it's changed. If you'd have told me I was training, 7 and 8 year olds, helping them become better throwers, 10 years ago, I'd have been like, that's too little. But at the end of the day, I mean, if they want to learn it and want to learn how to do it right and get them started early and they like it and no one's forcing them to do it, then, glad to start them whenever they'd like. I mean, you start piano lessons when you're 5 years old. What's the difference? You know what I mean? I mean, like,
absolutely.
It's just something you want to learn. It's a skill. Spencer, Spencer's process was, I got him as probably 6th grade, got Jack in 7th grade going into 8th grade. And right off the bat with Spencer, I was like, okay, you're too good to be running around with the 6th graders and 7th graders. We gotta bump you up with the high school kids. And so right from that, right in early, right into the early stages of training him, we got him up with the older guys. So he, was pushed more. And you could just, see the maturation and his footwork getting better and his timing getting better and his anticipation getting better. And, just kind of understanding the different throws and the drops. And, it's just a process. You just get better and better. The longer you do something, the better you get at it. And that's kind of what we have to do with some of the guys that kind of are a little bit ahead of the guys their age. We got to challenge them, move them up there and get them going, in a group of guys that'll push them and get them to that next step they need to take.
Yeah. And it's super interesting having kids myself and young kids and seeing the flag football explosion as well. And I mean, how competitive and fun those games are. You definitely see a need to train kids and to play. You can play football year round out here. How do you kind of assess the late bloomers and also maybe a kid playing multiple sports, which seems like it's harder and harder to do these days?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you might be able to play 2 sports, but back when I was in high school many moons ago, I mean, you played 3 sports. You know what I'm saying? It's
right. Me too. Yeah.
What you did. If it wasn't football and basketball, and the guys wrestled, or you know what I mean, and then you had track or baseball or something like that, but not anymore. I repeat that question one more time again.
Well, I guess all about the late bloomers too, because you have kids with the rocket arms, and kids all grow at different rates, and you might have a kid who has good mechanics but can't throw it as far, and then all of a sudden takes a big jump. So for the young quarterbacks out there who have the belief, maybe even the Drew Breeses of the world, what does that path look like these days?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, you just gotta keep working at it. You know what I mean? If it's something you really want to do and you really want to get, proficient at, you got to put the time in, and you got to be, it's got to be a regular, occurrence for you to show up and get that work. There's a lot of other things that kids go and do now. There's a lot of 7-on-7 tournaments and things like that. And I get that people want to go out, have some fun and run around and do that. But I think you just got to really stick to it and really understand that, look, not everyone's going to be an FBS quarterback. In fact, that's getting harder and harder. Okay. It's 10 times harder now than it was 3 years ago to get those offered. It really is, because why do I need to go get an unproven high school guy unless he's got all these stars by his name, which, sometimes I don't know how they got all those stars. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I don't know how you got them, but you know what? If you got them by your name, then, you know, as a college coach, I have to go look at those guys with all those stars by their names, or I'm going to get fired. You know what I mean? And there might be some other guy down the road that might be better than that guy. You know what I mean? But that guy down the road just has to, you know, just wait for his opportunity, or maybe understand, hey, I might be an FCS quarterback. Hey, I might be a D2 guy. I might be a Division III. You know, might have to go to a junior college for a year. Whatever you want to do, you just have to. You have to understand that, you know, that you know, it's, if you want to play, there's opportunities, and sometimes you have to understand where you fit in, you know, and where you're going to be as a quarterback after high school. And my goal, first of all, I tell most of these kids, we want you to be able to start at your high school. You know what I mean? If you can't play on Friday night, you ain't playing on Saturday. Okay, so that's not happening. So once you become that guy, and let's say you have all the measurables, usually we can, you know, help you with that and get the right content. I know, you know, I've been in this business a while. I know a lot of guys, and we'll get them out to, we just had a couple of guys out throwing for Oregon State today. We had a couple of guys throwing for, you know, a couple of the other schools. Boise's been down here. I mean, and they go and see some of our guys and watch them throw. So, but then I've got 15, 16 other kids that are playing D2 and D3 and FCS. And you know what? That's awesome. I'm just as happy for those guys as the guys that get that opportunity to go to a Power 5 or something like that. And the odds of you staying at that school that you committed to for the full 4 years, I bet, are very low. Look what DeMond Williams just had to do. He just went to Washington with Jed, you know, just flipped. Had to, you know what I mean? New coach came in. He was at U of A for a week.
Wow.
You know, now he's up at UW. I've been with DeMond since he was probably 10. And Devin Dampierre at New Mexico, he did the right thing by staying there. You know, New Mexico, new coaches. But I said, you need to stay there. You've already played. You've established yourself a little bit. Don't get in that portal and mess things up for yourself unless there's a clear path. You know, so these high school guys need to understand, if they get an opportunity, regardless of what level. I have 3 or 4 kids now at Western New Mexico, a couple quarterbacks there. I have a quarterback at, I want to say it's Colorado Pueblo. I have a quarterback at Jamestown. I have a quarterback at Lewis and Clark. You know what I'm saying? Like all these other kind of different opportunities that aren't the South Carolinas and the Louisvilles. So it's not always about that. It's about, hey, you want to keep playing football and get your school paid for? There's ways for that. You know what I mean? And there's opportunities out there. So sometimes you have to sit parents down and say, hey, this is probably where your son's going to end up, you know, falling in category wise to, you know, type of player he's going to be, that this is probably the kind of school that's going to best fit him. You know what I mean? Best conferences and divisions.
Do you teach as much of the mental as the physical at quarterback? How much of it is mental skills?
We try. Oh man. I mean, right now with Spence and Jack, 2 days a week are spent in the classroom. We're in there 3 hours a day. We bring in some different guys too that have been in the league, you know, to talk to them, go over, you know, all the things that it's going to take to, you know, to be an NFL quarterback. You know, I'm not a dumb guy. I bring in guys that have been there and done that, you know, that know more than I do. You know what I mean? And so I can make sure my guys that I'm helping get in that door, that I make sure I get them around the right people. But man, it's the mental part of the game. I mean, so many guys can throw, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I was trying to tell some of my young quarterbacks now. I mean, yeah, you need to be athletic too. That helps. I mean, it doesn't hurt, you know, if you know, that's can become more of part of the game. But, you know, in order to separate yourself now from some of these other guys, I mean, I think it comes down to, like, if you can get on a board and you can teach your offense to a college coach that's coming in to talk to you about X's and O's, and you know what you're doing when you get on the board, you know, and you understand pass protections and coverages and hots and alerts, and you know what I'm saying, and your concepts and the language. And if you can really understand that as a young quarterback, you have an opportunity to be really good. And we offer that stuff, but a lot of these guys would rather go run around in their shorts, tight shorts, and play 7-7. I'm serious. And I'm always teasing them. I'm like, did you just go play tag football in your wrestling shorts this weekend? And yeah, coach, I go, did you play with guys on your team? No, I'm throwing a guy. What are you doing? Sometimes that drives me bananas. I'm going to be honest with you. But hey, look, they all feel like if they're not out there, they're missing out on something. But I can tell you this, I've never had a coach ask me one time for someone's 7-on-7 tape. Not once. Okay. They don't really care too much about what you're doing in your short pants with nobody rushing on Saturdays. You know what I mean? I try to make the emphasis of the mental part of the game. I try to put that out there that, hey guys, we have this, it's available. We're going to run these sessions once a week. Show up. And some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them will drive 4 hours to play touch football, and they could have drove 30 minutes to, learn football. You know what I mean? So I'm not knocking 7-on-7. People will be out there going, oh, he hates it and this and that. No, there's a time and a place for it. But quarterbacks need to understand what they're going to gain from what they're doing, putting their extra time in. What are they going to gain from it? You know what I'm saying? And where can they gain the most advantage that will help them? So, the mental part is huge.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it seems like that's what separates the Tom Brady's from
100%.
15 other guys. Do you have a feel for how this draft is going to go, where quarterbacks are going to go, specifically your guys, and even what the top of the draft looks like?
Well, you hear the same names, the same three names, right? Caleb, Penix, and Bo. You hear those names, and then there's a couple of guys I can't think of. Probably
Drake May and
then JJ jumped in. McCarthy, we've worked with JJ. He's been down here before. He's a good kid. Obviously, Spencer is in that mix for sure. I think he can absolutely jump up and impress some people, and maybe they go, hey, we like this guy. And it's going to come down for me with Spencer and Jack. They're going to get in the classroom with these two guys and go, holy crap, these guys are smart. These guys know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They can talk ball, really talk ball. So, because all those guys you just mentioned can throw, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, what's going to separate everybody from everybody? You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of things that these different, coaches and general managers, and they look for in specifics in guys. And, it's just going to be a matter of personal preference. That's what I always tell Spence. I mean, like, there's a lot of pretty girls you could take to the dance, and you pick that one, and because you like that. That's the style you like. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, that's kind of what you're saying with Jack, telling the same thing. It's kind of what you're dealing with. Jack has the opportunity as well, next week playing in the Shrine Bowl, to hopefully get himself a combine invite. You know what I mean? Spence has one, and get that second round and get out there and get that opportunity as well. But either way, he's going to be able to showcase his talent in that game, and Spence is going to be able to be there with Bo Nix and Michael Penix and a couple other guys, and kind of those will be to me the big three that'll be in that game, and he has opportunities to really show what he can do there. So I think both my guys, obviously, I know they're both going to get drafted, no doubt. And I think they're both have opportunities to go high, higher than what people might think they will go. And so, those things you can't control. You know what I mean? You put in the time, you put in the work, and there'll be teams that fall in love with a guy. I know Spence and Jack will both have general managers texting them, and our coaches texting them, and our scouts and all that stuff from different teams that like them. So, hey, we just keep putting our nose down and let that stuff happen when it happens,
Absolutely. No, it's a great perspective on just working your way through things and waiting for success. But I know, football is your passion, is how you spend most of your time, but you also have an event coming up, a Night to Prevail. So tell us what went into this event. Your band's playing there. We see the guitars behind you, and how people can get involved.
Well, this is something that I think everybody knows. Max Hall played at BYU and played for the Cardinals. Him and Brock Bevel. Brock's a good friend of mine. His brother Daryl's the OC, or the quarterback coach for the Dolphins, Daryl Bevel. So I've been a family friend of the Bevels for my whole life, and we grew up together. I was working with Max in like 2011, training him a little bit. And then I think everybody kind of knows his story of, you know, the struggles he had with, you know, his addictions and stuff like that. And Brock as well, being a police officer, got shot, got wounded, became addicted to, you know, all these things these terrible things that happen, you know, once you know, to people when you know, they get hooked on something. And they started their outreach program a couple years ago, just recently, called the Victory Foundation, Recovery Foundation. It's an outpatient, you know, kind of an outpatient program for mental health and addiction. And, you know, I've lost my brother 12 years ago. My brother died. He was a quarterback at Saguaro in '99, went to Scottsdale Community College. I got to coach him in high school and junior college. He went to Arizona, and he had some surgeries on his shoulder, ended up getting addicted to opiates, and then kind of got reliance on some antidepressants, and fought that battle for about 7 years, and he died accidentally one night, you know, just to mix the wrong stuff together and didn't wake up. And my sister, I have a sister that's 5 years younger than me that grew up with some bad things happened to her when she was, you know, a young child, and she kind of went on a path of that same. And man, she's been in and out of treatment centers for 13 years, and she's a warrior. She's made it, and she's done some, you know, really good things with her life. I'm super happy for her. And I have a daughter and a son. My daughter's struggled with mental health and addiction, mental health mainly, and turned to a little bit of alcohol to try to help with that. And then she's gotten herself better. She's 25. And then the big one is my son, who's 22, 23 now. And this last year, fentanyl, got a hold of that stuff, and was probably dead 3 times. And I know 2 for sure that I had to bring him back. Luckily, I was there when it happened and found him there. And mental health, again, anxiety that's caused this kind of, you know, that's kind of caused them to kind of turn to these things to, you know, kind of feel better and self-medicate. So this is just an event that they've put on to bring awareness to, like, hey, you know what? There's a lot of people out there, your neighbor, your family. There's nobody that probably doesn't know somebody that's been affected by this kind of stuff. And last year we played a year and a half ago, we played with a guy named Ben Fuller. He's an artist out of Nashville. He's not doing it this year. He's big time record, recording artist, more on the Christian side of country, but man, super, super good stuff. And Brock asked me to put my band back together, which I couldn't find half those guys now, but that's what I did out of high school. I skipped playing football and did the music thing for about 8 years. Had a record deal when I was 23 with an independent label. And
oh, wow.
You know, I went away from that. Some of my other guys became members of the Funk Junkies and a bunch of different bands, but we were close. And that was during the 80s, late 80s, 90s, when you had the Gin Blossoms and all those guys. And we were more like Simple Minds and U2 and NX. We didn't really quite fit the Tempe scene, the Mill Avenue scene, but we still managed to, you know, make some noise and do some good stuff. But Brock asked me a year and a half ago to play that event. We played 4 songs, and then they said they were going to do it again. Well, I do it again. He goes, you'll be a co-headliner along with this mentalist named Sean Bott, who's a very, very neat guy. He's going to be part of the show too. And I said, yeah, I'd love to, man. And put some guys back together. I got a blind drummer and a blind guitar player.
Oh, wow.
One of them is Brock Bevel's brother, Adam. Adam actually got on stage with U2 in 2011. A lot of people know that story. He got pulled up on stage, and Bono brought him up there, and then he gave him his Irish Fresh Falcon. Channel 10 ran a big story on that back in the day. I remember, is it Hoon, John Hoon or whatever? Yeah, they ran a big story. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, they ran a big story on that, and Adam was on CNN, and blind guitar player got on stage with U2. So, and our drummer's amazing, and the music is primarily my stuff that I've written about a lot of these experiences that I've been through. So it's very personal. We have a full-on light show. It's not going to be a rinky-dink operation. I mean, we're gonna do our best to play a great set. I mean, if you ask what kind of music it is, it's probably along the lines of U2 and Coldplay and The Fray, and it's listener friendly, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? we'll throw and mix in a few covers there. The Killers is another big band we like. We'll mix in a few covers in there as well. But and it's just really just an event to just come out, have some fun, you know, and just be around some people and for a night. And, you know, we're going to just try to, you know, let everybody know about Brock and Max and what they have to offer. And you know what I mean? And then, you know, just have some fun. But yeah, so it's going to be Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Mesa Arts Center. We'll go on first. So we'll probably go on around 6:10. We'll play for about 50 minutes. And you'll be surprised. I mean, I can sing, believe it or not. I played the piano for 47 years. Started playing the piano then. I've sang for almost 40. And it's still a big passion of mine. I just don't get to do it very often anymore. But, you know, man, what a great opportunity to get to do something like this. So that's what it's all about.
Well, we'll put the flyer at the bottom of the social media posts when we post this here shortly. And just really appreciate you sharing your story, sharing your perspective on football, and, you know, just sharing your time for a good cause. So don't be a stranger to the Extra Point podcast. And thank you for all you do for football in the Valley.
Hey, well, thank you for taking the time to have me on. I really appreciate that.
This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.